Of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Superintendent, no presentation?
No presentation tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Wow. Then I'll take your superintendent's report.
Thank you. My first item is to update the committee on my ongoing efforts to prepare for the opening of our 4th elementary school. So this is an update on staff reorganization. On Wednesday, October 2nd, our teaching faculty received instructions and a link for the preference sheets for the upcoming school year. Underneath that is a short picture from the actual survey that I sent to the teachers with the directions on how to fill out the preference sheets. The directions were sent out, and timelines for the survey were that they were supposed to be in by October 16th at 4 p.m., which is tomorrow at 4 p.m. We have had a very, not in my report, but just to let you know, we've had a very good response. We're almost 100%. We're waiting for just a few folks to put it in. Some folks have put in multiple preference sheets, which is their right. In the FAQ, we let them know that they can put in as many as they like, but whatever the last one they put in will be considered their final. Staff were asked to select their choice of position and choice of school they would prefer to work at, and rank order both selections for administration. The last question was whether the position or the location was more important to the faculty member, or if they were equal. The next steps are for administration to analyze and review the submissions for accuracy, and we'll be meeting to select assignments over the next month. It's been our stated goal since the beginning to complete this process by the Thanksgiving holiday. I don't see any barriers that will prevent us from completing this on time, and since I've written this, I don't see any barriers that will prevent us from completing this on time. I think we've got all the information. We need to set aside some time to do it, and I'm very confident we will be able to give everyone their assignments before Thanksgiving break. Leadership team focus. In leading the administrative team this year, I decided to create a focus on transformational leadership as part of our ongoing work. The team is reading Transformational Leadership by Bass and Riggio together and talking about our own personal management and leadership styles. The basis of the book is to focus your energy in moving away from transactional and contingent reward styles of leadership and move to a practice that considers individual consideration, intellectual stimulation, inspirational motivation, and idealized influence as components of transformational leadership. Updated FY20 goals. As requested in the last meeting, I have updated my goals and provided a copy for the school committee for your consideration and vote. Just so you know, the changes are in red. Additionally, I provided the rubric for the updated superintendent evaluation as provided by the state. Should we accept this rubric, we need to notify the state about our acceptance, which I can do. I am in favor of trying the new rubric as I think it simplifies at least a portion of the areas in which evaluation should be focused. However, it is your decision. And that's my report for tonight.
Questions from the committee? Any questions from the committee? Any questions? Thank you very much.
We're going to talk about the rubric later. Yeah.
Assistant Superintendent report.
Thank you. I want to start my report by updating you on an elementary science course that is being offered to our K-5 teachers. Cambridge College is hosting a 3-credit course titled Effective Teaching of Science. This is a hybrid course. Let me see, I just lost track. I'm providing teachers at the elementary level with an introduction to the Massachusetts science, technology, and engineering standards, along with the instructional tools and strategies required to lead young leaders towards achievement of newly written performance expectations. 25 grade 3 through 5 teachers will be completing the class in the next month, and another 25 K through 2 teachers will be enrolled in January. Update on the Whitcomb School World Language Intervention classes. Last fall, the Whitcomb School expanded their literacy and mathematics interventions, and I wanted to update you with the current World Language Intervention offerings. As of October 9th, there were 700 students enrolled in grades 7 and 8 at the Whitcomb School. 255 students are scheduled in world language classes. There are 5 Latin and 5 Spanish classes, and each of these classes averages around 25 students in each section. 320 students are enrolled in either math or ELA interventions, and approximately 125 students receive EL services or special education interventions. Students can transition from an intervention in grade 7 to a world language in grade 8. Last year, 25 students graduated out of their 7th grade interventions, ELA or math, and moved into a section of level 1 language. The 2019 data used to identify students in need of an ELA or math interventions included FastBridge in ELA or math, which is a universal screener, summative math scores for the 2018-19 school year, MCAS multiple choice scores from spring 2009 results in ELA and math, past MCAS scores in ELA and math, WIST writing samples, which is a just word screener, and Lexia data. ELA interventions are broken into 3 focused areas: reading, writing, and just words, which is word study. It's another one of our Wilson interventions. Parent communications. If an intervention is recommended, guidance and administration calls home and explains the data and options available to students. If parents disagree, they are given an opportunity to review the data with either a school counselor, intervention coordinator, or an assistant principal. While data is reviewed, a rationale for intervention selection is offered. Parents can disagree and enroll their child into a world language against the professional judgment of staff. 4 parents determined a world language was the best option for their child this year. Going forward, Whitcomb Leadership is currently reviewing staffing and course offerings for the 2020-21 school year. The shift of the 5th grade to the elementary buildings may offer new opportunities. Current data indicates that the intervention program will be needed next school year. Expanded course offerings for all students is being studied within the restraints of space and budget at this time. Any questions?
Questions from the committee? Any questions from the committee? Mrs. Matthews?
Mary, I guess what stands out for me is obviously the lack of Chinese. And I know we had talked about it when the intervention started. And I know there was also a hiring issue and all of that. I guess one of my question is, why are we not putting Chinese back on as an option? And well, let's start with that. We'll start with that.
So,
Ditto.
Yeah. So I discussed that with the administration. I talked to both Mr. Daniels and Ms. House, who does a lot of the scheduling, and it was discussed last year. There was not enough interest or students to maintain a course. If we have enough students and we have enough interest, they would be more than willing to discuss it moving forward. They just were not able to schedule it this year. It's going to be a year-by-year discussion, I think.
I mean, I'm selfishly disappointed because obviously I have a child who did 6 years of it and has reaped amazing benefits by having done it. More so than some of the kids who do Latin and or Spanish. So I think it's, while we have a professional who can provide the instruction, we should take advantage of that in as much areas as we can. And even if it is actually telling some kids that that's their option.
I think that combined, I think there's a combination that we have to recognize. First of all, when Whitcomb School only did one world language, it was Latin. So for a number of our families, for a number of our students, that is the language you do at middle school. So I think it's you have a little bit more interest in that. Plus, Spanish is a very popular. So those are the first 2. And then there is the perception that Mandarin is much more difficult than any other language. And so that is another barrier to having students. And we have not forced, well,
Well, and I don't want to say
extent.
force, because, I mean,
Yeah.
we did the alignment. That was what we were doing, was, you know, the initial thing. And as we know, the initial request was the opposite way. There were more kids who wanted Mandarin than they wanted other languages, so.
I know, and when we first started talking about STEM a number of years ago, we had those discussions. We all argued that we could argue for Latin being the best language. We could argue that Spanish. We could argue for Mandarin. So I don't think there's a bad choice for that.
Oh, I agree. I just think it made our program unique.
Yeah.
Because not everybody can offer that, and that's why I'm saying if we have the resources for it, it's a
Still have
nice
the
option.
ability to offer it if we have students and, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, I'll just jump on, because my concern is how will that affect Mandarin at the high school level? And, you know, my favorite option was when we did each term, so they got each, you know,
In sixth grade before.
in sixth grade, right, so they got to try all of the different languages out, so then they could make an informed decision, and they would see perhaps that maybe Mandarin isn't as difficult as they think it is, but we have no way of exposing them to it if we don't even offer it in the school.
Questions? Ms. Hennessy?
Thank you. So, to that point, we had obviously gone down the path when we had introduced the STEM program to really pair it with Mandarin to, I think, really, I thought, make an asset towards that global programming, really, and push it. So we've worked really hard on growing that trajectory and having something now available at the high school where we've seen the benefits, where I think the Chinese program had actually come in here to actually show some of the experiences that they've had as a group. And then we know from some of the other presentations, there have been some opportunities where I believe your daughter was able to actually be involved, where they actually traveled to China and really had quite a lot of benefits. And yes, there's a lot of apprehension because of the unknown. Mandarin isn't something that many school districts had. I never had it as an opportunity as a kid growing up. And I do have concerns that we aren't having at least a section, especially since we do have a qualified individual in district at that level to be able to offer at minimum, say, 25 students to have that experience. So we can continue to at least have some of that trajectory available. I mean, I understand that from a scheduling standpoint, that could definitely pose some challenges, but I would think since it seems that person that has that skill set is still able to be utilized within the intervention area, which is definitely something that we all know that needed to be targeted, it seems like it would be a benefit to find a way to, at minimum, continue to have a section, because as we know, as you matriculate up, you do have tougher choices, whether it be your world language, or we've had issues where some of the students from a music standpoint, they're trying to find how to fit things in. And although we've all spoken about needing to have these choices, I would hate to see that we're actually not trying to push forward our Mandarin program to continue that trajectory for some, because I think we've already had some problems on scheduling on the higher end where there's some choices of whether AP Mandarin can even compete, and that's a great feather in your cap. We talk about the whole child. That's one of the things we want to do. We want to have the global program, yet one of our diamonds, if you want to say, that we were offering, we're not finding a way of potentially having at least a group that might be able to continue that trajectory. So obviously, we've got to find the way of interventions, of supporting, but it would be wonderful if there was a way of utilizing that skill set, because I can only envision that if we don't find a way of having that skill set used, that when another opportunity opens up available where someone else is going to have Mandarin focus, that Mandarin focus is going to go elsewhere. And as we've all known, because of the couple years where we did have an issue, the staffing for this program is tough to find. And we've all talked about it. It's been open. We had that one year where we definitely had challenges and needed to go to the computer and the technology, and it was a rough year. you know? I mean, we had to find the source and resolve. I'm just concerned about how we see the program continuing if we're kind of taking it out on the underneath. So, don't want to beat a dead horse, but.
And I was remiss at the beginning of the meeting. Dottie, you're joining us tonight for the first meeting. So I want to recognize you, and you had some comment on it.
Oh, yeah. I agree with what she was saying about how, for me, being somebody who went through, I was the year where we got to have each of the languages. It definitely helped me out a lot, because I was one of the years where French was still offered. And I was like, I went into it and I was like, you know what, I'm going to take French. And then I realized that I really liked the Spanish teachers and I really liked the program and the language. So I think that having that opportunity for students to be able to actually try them out is a good idea, because I feel like knowing like my like acquaintances at school and my fellow students, a lot of us get very stuck on one certain thing until we get to try out other things. And it, like, even if it means that we're being forced to try other things out, we might end up in the end finding something that's better suited for us. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And welcome. Other questions from the committee? Again,
Did I hear you say that 5th grade is going to be moved to the elementary schools?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
What made you guys decide to do that?
So we've been studying that for about 5 years now, and one of the things is the 5th grade has been teaching elementary curriculum at the middle school for this entire time that they've been there. So we want to have the elementary curriculum be in one school, K through 5.
Okay, thank you.
any other questions? Other questions? Other questions? Thank you very much. Public participation. Any public participation? Public participation. Seeing none. Mr. Diaz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have my first set of transfer requests for FY20. As per usual, we're doing it by site, starting with Hildreth. We're requesting a transfer of $36,500, $36,000 of which is to correct a budget line where a clerk was actually budgeted in the incorrect budget line. So we're requesting that it be moved to the correct line. And the additional $500 is just for some PD for a teacher there. Here at ECC, we're requesting $6,750, in which we're utilizing efficiencies in the BT line to adjust the budget number for the director, as well as offsetting some summer overtime expenses for support staff. At JARIC, we're requesting $15,150 to be moved, utilizing savings in the district-wide director line to offset teacher costs related to PD, as well as support staff summer overages. In addition, there's $5,500 at JARIC to support the math curriculum purchase this year. At Kane, we're requesting $25,265, utilizing efficiencies in the special education para, as well as grade 3 teacher lines to offset PD costs, reconcile budget adjustments in ELL, grade 4, SPED teacher lines, as well as support lines due to summer needs. There is an additional $3,000 at Kane for math curriculum purchases. At Richer, we're requesting the transfer of $15,650, utilizing savings in the SPED paraeducator line to offset PD costs in the teacher lines, reconcile budget adjustments needed in grade 2, kindergarten, and nursing lines. Just a quick explanation on the budget adjustments. Since the budget was approved in the spring, we've had some folks that left the district. Their replacements might need a budget adjustment for that line. There are also some folks who had lane changes, and that requires some additional monies in those lines as well. Okay. At Whitcomb, we're requesting a transfer of $73,050. Most of which, $43,500, is just correcting the budget line for a clerk at that site. The remaining $30,000 is utilizing efficiencies in the para line to offset PD costs, reconcile budget adjustments in the adjustment counselor line, special education line, and assistant principal line. There's also $11,000 there to support math curriculum purchases. At Marlborough High, we're requesting $14,200 from the history teaching line to reconcile budget adjustment needs in foreign language, as well as the assistant principal line and 12-month clerk line. District-wide, we're requesting a transfer of $107,600 to offset $81,000 in math curriculum, $15,000 in postage, $6,000 in mileage, and $5,000 to support HR intern. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from the committee? Ms. Bodhenger.
Just at the bottom of the district-wide line, 187.54 to librarian. I wasn't clear what that librarian
So
is
that's,
tied
that
to.
budget line is negative by $187.54.
Which school?
It's a district-wide line.
Do we have a district-wide librarian that I don't know about?
I can use some past knowledge to probably solve this one.
Okay.
So the object code 70111 is very familiar to our substitute line, and occasionally the wrong line gets punched into the codes. Just so you know, it's happened to me too.
I'll double check that. Usually that
Okay.
amount
I was
is
like-
probably somebody working some additional hours that they put in the timesheet for.
The subline, right? Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Tennessee.
Thank you. Quick question, under Whitcomb, the instructional math, is this relative to the new curriculum discussion that we had? And is this going to be a reoccurring charge that we would be seeing, or I'm just,
We broke up this purchase into 2 years. It is a 5-year purchase, but we were paying it in 2 years. So we deferred the second half of the payment into next year.
thank you.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve the
Motion made and
transfer.
seconded to approve. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item on the action items is, the second item, B, is the superintendent rubric, which has been revamped by the state. I provided the rubric within the packet, and leave it up to the school committee to vote on whether or not they would like to accept the rubric.
Move to accept.
Motion made and seconded to accept. Any discussion?
I just have a question.
Mrs. Matthews.
No, I like it. I think it simplifies it finally.
A little bit.
Yes,
It's
there's
still
a lot of-
pretty
there's-
complicated,
right.
but.
Well, and I guess my question, as I was reading through the proficiencies or there's some, you read them and you say, how can you judge between one and another, the difference between needs improvement or proficient or exemplary? Because much of the stuff we can't measure. But this even got worse because there's such a fine line between, and I can't say to you, show me all your evaluations that you're doing, because that's not our job to say that. And it's just throws a dart,
Sounds like that should be a MASC.
a resolution thing. No. Okay.
Just saying.
I retract
We
all
complain a
further
lot.
Mr. McLaughlin.
I had one question. I was just wondering, is there room for commentary as there was in the past? There is. It just doesn't appear in the rubric.
The rubric, I would provide you with my self-rating, and then you would be able to provide, the comments from the school committee generally are all condensed, and there's a rating that's produced to me, and then later on, I would get the individual comments.
I think what you're asking is their place on the actual rubric to write those things in.
As long as there
Is
was
that what you-
something in conjunction with the rubric.
This is
just
just
an opportunity
Yeah.
to interject.
I think he
personal
just
comments.
cut and pasted to show us what the questions
Yep.
are.
Just the rubric.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
This isn't the form, this is just the rubric.
right.
Thank you.
This is something the real world would never see. But they
Not
sit in a
not as
little
not
office
as not
down
as
there. and-
not as detailed.
Detailed, right.
But
Rubrics are
a
an
new-
educational thing.
Yeah.
Of course they are. Other questions? Motion made and seconded to approve. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item C is a vote on the superintendent's goals. I did adjust goal number 2, added number 4 and benchmark number 4 with the comments that I got, and specifically brought this up with my coach, Mr. King, whom you met last year, and we're working together to create a rubric for walkthroughs.
Yet another rubric.
Better than
Room
this.
for comment.
I will be taking a rubrics course down the Cape. At the cult meeting. Any discussion? How about a motion?
Motion to accept.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Mrs. Hennessy.
I just wanted to say thank you very much for taking those, since I wasn't here for the discussion, but I had,
It was your suggestion.
right, I was going to say, I appreciate, yeah, thank you.
She
since I-
channeled you.
Yeah, she was channeling me since I couldn't be here, but I appreciate you understanding where that was coming from, and I think it's helpful, so thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, opposed, carries. Thank you very much. Acceptance of donations and gifts. Repligen, 300 binders, all schools, $1,500.
Motion to accept.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, opposed, carries. Anonymous giving 26 backpacks for MPS students, $390.
Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to
Gratitude.
approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, opposed, carries. St. Mary's Credit Union, Hildreth School, $150.
Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, opposed, carries. Mass DESE FY20 Open Science Ed Grant Fund Code 116,
Motion to,
$5,613.
motion to accept.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, opposed, carries. Mass DESE FY20 Open Sci Ed Grant Fund Code 595, $1,450.
Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, opposed, carries. Reports of committees. Any reports of committees? No? Nothing, nice.
Nothing.
Members
Yes.
forum. Mrs. Matthews.
I've reviewed and signed the warrant.
Fantastic. People will be paid this week.
Woo-hoo. No, that's the other.
Thank you.
That's the other one.
Any other members forum?
Nope, just want to echo welcoming our new student this year. Thank you. Got right in there on your first day. Excellent. Yeah, they're usually not this short, so
Yeah.
but we'll let you off easy tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, opposed, carries. Thank you all very much.